I should be able to see my stuff. Okay. That look good? Look good? There we go. This wire's in my way. So out of whack. Welcome back to another installment of Jammore Interviews. I'm your host, Josh, aka Jammore, and today I have an extremely special guest for y'all today. DBZ fans, rise up, because today I will be speaking to the voice of DrGero. Had to write this all down. This guy's done so much. He's the voice of DrGero, Janemba, Elder Kai, Supreme Kai, Kabuto Kai, and Mercenary Tao. He's also the voice of Mr. Compress in My Hero Academia, Sid Barrett in Soul Eater, Father in Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, Mao in Darker Than Black, Xiao, Fosei, Kyo, and more in One Piece. I completely botched those names. Deus Ex Machina in Future Diaries, Haruto-sama in Fruits Basket, Bone Threewood in Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, and if I kept going, we'd be here for hours just naming off characters. He has over 300 acting credits to his name. Please help me welcome marionettist, onstage performer, teacher, and anime icon, Kent Williams! Hold on. I messed up right here. I gotta bring him on. 3, 2, boom! We're here. Let's go.
I like that. I like the icon part especially. It's nice. You murdered some of the names, though. I have to say, it is Hattori Soma.
I know.
I couldn't even tell where you were trying to get out. That's.
I felt awful. I can't. I was.
It was very amusing.
I was trying to study all the names before I got on here, but then school came up, and then I just was whatever. But how are you, man? How you doing?
And you know what? Good enough.
Completely understand that. But
before I get into the,
that's good, man. I'm glad to hear that. But before we get into these questions and the bulk of the interview, I'd just like to say it is a huge honor to be speaking to you. A major part of my childhood. I've been following you since I was like, gosh, I want to say like 5 now, because I've heard you in multiple things since your Dragon Ball Z work, and it's just so awesome to see you still working. Yeah, still working in this industry. And I'm so honored to be talking to you today, and I hope to make a great interviewing experience for you today. So thank you for joining me.
Thank you. I'm taken away by this like character mural that you've got us framed in. Well done.
Yeah, I always love making this stuff, especially for the YouTube interviews. I love making, like, putting characters, and the social media and stuff. I kind of messed up with DrGero, but that's not that bad. Because there's kind of a little bummer there, like a little dash there that I could have fixed. But I'm not perfect. We all messed up.
Right there. You even got Bones Threewood up there, so I mean that's really good. There's a couple of things I just wonder. Ooh, I hope I am those people, but no, it's
no, yeah. I made sure to thoroughly research all those characters before I put them up there. So you're good. You're good. But
it totally makes up for mispronunciations. Totally.
Thank God.
It's thorough. You got like my main guys from DBZ, which started everything for me. That was our first project. And then there's Yu, and then there he is all the way over there. Hattori Soma, yeah.
Yeah, then you got Borderlands. You were in Borderlands, and I tried to put Deus Ex, because one of my friends is like a huge fan of that character. So, but I couldn't fit him. Yeah, he's not there. I couldn't fit him. But I did the best with what I can. But to start off this interview, I want to pass it to you. Here, I like to give my guests the opportunity to talk about anything they want at all. They get to talk about the food they just ate, the nap they just had. They can talk about anything at all, like literally anything. The floor is yours. What is on your mind today? Did I lose him?
Are you asking me or your listeners?
I'm asking you.
Oh, I thought you're talking to like people that I'm not seeing
Oh,
right now. You know what's my mind today?
I was like, did I lose
No,
it?
I was just trying to make sure I had stuff up on my walls. I just moved into a new place. I just sold my house, so everything is just happening like lickety split. You
Oh,
said
nice.
marionettist. I retired in November, so I don't even do that anymore. Yeah, like I tried to
Wow.
retire from a lot of things. You know, I'm feeling like they're starting to pull me back in because
You
you cannot
retired.
escape from that.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's just like a lot has been happening for me this year. It's been happy chaotic, if that makes any kind of sense. Just it's
Oh,
really, really active and in a positive way. So this is good. But yeah, as of today, like this gigantic, it's on this side, wall map of downtown France right there was not there or anything else on the wall. So like this is my new
wow.
sanctuary.
Congratulations. How recent? Well, oh no, yeah, you were talking to me about that. I remember.
It
Yeah,
hasn't
when
even
I
been
yeah.
3 weeks. It has just only been like 3 weeks. So but it's new. But I've been prepping to move since like last November.
Oh wow.
But I mean, like, you know, right here at the end of a I almost said pandemonium. At the end of a pandemic, you know, I was, uh, you know, I had some time because there's couldn't go into schools. You know, people were still not coming back for a lot of live performances. So just everything changed.
Right.
I don't know
That
where
is
you are, but here in Texas, you know, it was a lot different for us gig workers and performers, actors, and stuff.
Georgia. I'm in
Georgia,
Georgia right now.
okay.
Yeah. You ever been here?
I drove through the tip of it once on my way back to Texas from Long
Oh.
Island, so I can say that was at least touch toe, you know, in the state. But I didn't get to like go to Atlanta or anything like that. So that's a yet. That's a yet.
Oh,
Georgia's a yet.
I hope they bring you out to like a con here, man. There's so many
Oh, that would be
cons down here.
amazing. That would be amazing.
There's so
I'm
many.
gonna
You
come
got
out to I know I'm doing one of the Carolinas, so I'm going to come to that part of the East Coast. I've been to Florida. I've got a brother in Florida, but in a couple of weeks I'll be in Tallahassee, and that'll be a first. I've only been as I think well, there other than Orlando, like you know Disney World. I had my honeymoon in Disney World. I mean,
wait,
that
seriously? That
wasn't
is
Florida.
so cool.
Yeah, it was 4 years after the fact, but you know that was and that wasn't just my choice. That was so much fun. It was an amazing. It
That
was a
is
good.
all.
It was a good 4 year wait to get it done right.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm just that is crazy. How does it feel to finally sell it? Were you sad about it? Were you like, oh
Not at
dang?
all. Not at all. I mean, it is gone. It's like so happy. And it was I sold it to someone from California. So more people coming out of California, coming to Texas. That's kind of like
I
been our story
keep
here.
hearing that. Yeah, I keep hearing that people from California come
And a
all the
lot of
way to like
actors, a lot of actors are coming here, like on camera stuff. I'm not gonna this is it's like the opposite's what's supposed to be true.
yeah, like
Dallas is
everyone
like
is
Dallas,
supposed to
Texas is like
leave.
a place to be from, you know, but not people coming, not people just coming here. So
Right, yeah, that's what a lot of the bulk of the industry work is in California. You know, when I speak to
competition. Yeah.
yeah, when I speak to a lot of voice actors, they're like, "Come to California, you got to do this in California." Da, da, da. It's just like
Well, you know, and
I don't know, man.
it's still very true, you know, for recording. I am not one I don't like to have I instead of setting up a recording booth in this new place, we chose to set up a food pantry. So, um I'm relying on the ability to go back into studio at this point. Crunchyroll, you know, all of them.
Okay, yeah, I know some people are starting to go back into the studio and stuff, and you know,
Since starting, I'm like, get us back. It's so much easier. I'm
I
just
get
of
it,
the
yeah.
generation though, it's like, I do not want that tech in my hands. No one really does. No one does.
And running a in-home studio is its own thing in itself too. You know, there's so many different variations to get. Then you got to get installation, and then you have to get like the right, technicians in there to make sure it sounds good. You know, there's a lot of work to it. It's a whole thing. You know, it's
I
not
just
as
redeployed
easy.
myself, you know. It was better, you know, it was better than PVC and moving blankets, but you know, it was it worked for a while. It
Yeah, no, but
worked
I
when it needed to.
gets the job done. But studio, something about going in studio is just always going to be top notch.
Yeah, I was in. Actually, I was in just. It was yesterday for the first time back at Crunchyroll, and it was the first time that everybody was back at Crunchyroll. Because usually there's three of us. We're recording the booth. We've got the director and then the engineer, but everybody was there. It was the first time that people haven't been. Everybody hasn't. Someone hasn't been remote. Someone has not been remote. Everybody was there. It's awesome. No hugs, but just a lot of fist bumps. From a distance. Which
Yeah.
is okay, but it's not normal. And actors like to hug.
Same way, man. Same way. But my first question to you is, as I was researching, because I just have to make sure I get it right and ask the right questions. I found out something cool about you is that you were born on an air base in Texas. Is that
Hey, I
correct?
was. You
Yeah.
got
So
that
like,
right. Laredo.
as
Laredo.
that is so cool. So growing up in that environment, I'm interested. How would you say your childhood has helped you as an artist in an ever-changing entertainment landscape?
I don't want to make it sound like I was raised on an air base because I was born on an air base. One of my brothers was born on the same base. It doesn't even exist anymore in Texas. That base is completely gone. And then we moved from there down, and that's on the border. That's on the Texas-Mexico border. Like just on the other side of the border of Laredo is Nuevo Laredo. They're just right there, border towns. But we moved up to the Texas-Oklahoma border in a little town called Burnett, and it was just right by another air base. And that's where I really remember kind of like starting to grow up. But my growing up was always rural North Texas, with Dallas being the big hub. Like, we would drive the 90 minutes or 2 hours into the city to do shopping or to go to Six Flags was like the big thing, the theme park. But, then now living here, urban gorilla all the way. My son lives on a rural mountain in California right now. The opposite, like raised in the city, is seeking that seclusion, and I'm the opposite. It actually, when I drive back into those little old towns, because there are other little towns like Commerce, Kipper, little places that aren't pronounced like other people would pronounce them because we lived in them and that kind of thing.
Right.
I'm sure Georgia's got some towns just like that, where only the locals say it right.
Yes. 110%. Yes. I've heard it. Oof. That's like me trying to pronounce those anime character names in the beginning. It's just is a different way of saying it, or a different way. Some people say McDonough, but it's McDonough. Like, that they say it weird. If you're not from here, you're not gonna get it right.
Yeah, I don't even know what you're referencing, but that's okay.
I'm sure other people don't know as well.
But
that's a little
in Texas, and growing up in rural North Texas, that we didn't have a lot of access because it wasn't until my son came around that, like, what do you mean in elementary school you've got computers? I was a senior in high school when I learned keyboard because I learned how to type on an electric typewriter, which is what I used in college. And it's like, it's just so much more beyond now. So much more beyond now. So it's like, it's different, I feel like I grew up like Lincoln with candles for lighting, or something. But, it was kind of bare bones living. You had to make up your own fun. You learn how to play in dirt. But, I don't know how city kids do it, but I think it left me free to develop a tremendous imagination. And I grew up around, all the country stuff. A lot of kids go ag, or I remember one town, it was, the rodeo was super big, but I just didn't have that kind of interest. And I played Little League one game. I made it to first base. I have no idea what happened after that. I did not advance beyond first base. I didn't know what was going on. It's just not my thing. So I was like making up plays and stuff like that in the rodeo grounds, trying to get my friends to do it with me. So I guess it was just destiny, There's something in theater. Because I went to school for theater. I went to school for stage, in particular, Southern Methodist University. everything in Texas, only in Texas, ever in Texas. So, now that I said that out loud, this is actually like a good point. I just said I sold my house. I could actually leave this state.
Yeah, I would definitely relate to that when you talk about imagination because I'm originally from Queens, New York. So it's like, yeah, the concrete jungle, it's very, very different as opposed to here. Yeah. But, I would grow up and I just had this really vivid imagination. I'd buy so many toys. I love Transformers, if people cannot tell.
Do
Big
you?
Transformers.
Really?
Big Transformers kid, yeah, and I would just get toys from the series and make my own voices or try to sound like Optimus Prime and Autobots roll out, try and do stuff like that and play around with my friends. And funny story, I've only told this story once. Is I remember I had this neighbor and we'd play around sometimes, and I think I went to his house once and we were playing around, and he got like a Hot Wheels track. And I don't know what happened. I think I had a Ben 10 watch and I hit him or something by accident. He got a Hot Wheels track and went wham! And he hit me on my shoulder. I was crying. But I got him back because I got his Transformer Soundwave. I picked it up and I slammed it on the ground. And I had to. No, I did not buy him a new one, but I got him back. So.
Woo! New York aggression.
I still have it too. That never left me. That's never left me. But yeah, I was like, I remember crying so hard. I was like, this hurts.
Hey, I remember having wars like that with my brother. We would grab the ends of those. I have a brother who's just like a year younger, but we would do that thing, where you cover your face and you just swing. So we would come at each other with those Hot Wheel tracks, but while covering our face. Like, hey, you're not alone.
The Hot Wheel track abuse.
You can't get enough force to really like smack somebody that bad. He must have been mad.
That leaves a mark. Listen, I was like, all right, I think I'm gonna go home. I think we've had enough for the play. Yeah. But yeah, it's crazy to see how much things have changed too, because when you talk about computers and stuff, obviously I grew up with technology and stuff. When I'm thinking about how far technology has advanced, even watching my little brother grow up and watching him on so many things and how he uses his imagination. I feel like he could be an architect. He loves Legos. He'll just build and build and build and stuff like that. And then you have YouTube, and then you have like all these things resources that you could put your imagination, Roblox, Minecraft, stuff like that. Because like when I was growing up, there was no Minecraft, there was no Roblox, there was none of that.
When I grew up, there was Legos.
There was Legos, right? Of course, Legos have been around for a while, but there wasn't like these games where you could like make your own society and build and stuff like that. So it's really interesting to see how times have changed, and how imagination has changed with that as well. So definitely
facilitated by technology, like you were just mentioning, in some ways that it couldn't otherwise. It still blows my mind to see like little toddlers, manipulating, like smart tablets and stuff. Shocking.
For me too, and it's crazy. But to discuss the acting a little bit, so it sounds like it's safe to say that you've always been interested in the entertainment industry in some sense.
100%, 100%.
Yeah, so in high school, I like to talk about high school a lot and of course you said, you would take classes for theater and stuff like that and acting and such like that. I like to ask about, what did you envision yourself doing during high school? Because I remember I watched an interview and you said that you were originally going to become a doctor, right?
Yeah. And that's true. Which part of what made like, my first character was Dr.Gero, but he was because he was homicidal. That's not a thing. But then, Hattori Soma is the family doctor in Fruits Basket. I know you don't know that because Fruits Basket is not you. That's okay.
You're not gonna let me live this down, huh?
Yeah. So it's like, but I was planning on that track. I fell into theater as an accident. You know, it was something I like to play around with. I was in high school before I even had seen like I take that back. I was in elementary school when they bused us to a rural university and we saw like a stage performance. You know, it was they're college kids dressed up like animals. I think it was Renard the Fox, something like that. But I was just like, I was sold. I was turned on. I was like, how can I reproduce this? And that just, I think that kind of started the bug right there. But I was really good in science. I was good at math. So I was pursuing that. That's kind of what my son does. He's more science oriented. And he followed me into the studios when he was like a kid. So at 12, he got cast on Fruits Basket with me.
Yes, and he played
He
the
played the
younger
young
version.
version of Theo, Jerry Jules' younger alter. But
Yeah.
yeah, he's going to be 31 this summer, so it's like can't even voice match that little kid. But that was really cool, you know. And so that makes that's made this whole industry experience that much more rich for me. That I actually got to experience part of that with my kid. I knew you didn't ask that, and I just kind of somehow I went back there.
Oh, no, 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 no. That's awesome. Um, but on top of being this actor and stuff, you've also been a teacher and a director at some point. You've done so many things in the entertainment landscape of things. I was just wondering, how has teaching and directing, would you say, has helped you grow as an artist?
With teaching, and I have to qualify that because my specialty is with young people. So I've taught preschool through college and some
You saw
adult, but
Travis Willingham and Laura Bailey and
Travis was 10 years old. And I didn't teach Laura Bailey. I was performing in a play with Laura Bailey when Meredith McCoy, who I had directed in a musical, I sent them both in for the android character. Meredith got it, but then history just shows you what was there for Laura. you know, so yeah, and Travis was just a 10-year-old in a summer camp. So I mean, he may not even remember that summer camp. I remember, but and then Maxie Whitehead from the Fullmetal. It's funny. It's funny. And then it's sometimes at anime conventions, especially ones that occur over here in Texas, former students come up and it's like, yeah, I did Japanese kabuki theater with you when I was in sixth grade. They're carrying a child now. And it's like, I love that kind of stuff. I love that. The other people, maybe it makes them feel older, but I would relish that. I love that. I've worked now. I've been employed as an actor by former students. I've been doing it that long. But that's good. I mean, just as a Dallas, based artist, I just didn't leave here after college, and I just kind of invented, my life. It was at a time kind of like how Chris Sabat and Justin Cook, right place at the right time. College grads, just fresh, so wet behind the ears, and here comes Funimation out of Canada, and it just happened. It was a perfect storm, so they got to invent something. But as a teaching artist here in the Dallas area, back when I started over 30 plus years ago, we were just inventing it. And now in a lot of different organizations and throughout the state, it's more institutionalized. It's like there are standards now in arts education that didn't used to be there. So it's kind of cool to have seen that happen and stay. Makes you feel like you left, just a little bit of a mark.
I know that must be an amazing experience to watch others grow. And speaking of watching others grow, to go back to your child, I was researching an interview and I read this. I think I got this right, but you said your child is transgender, if I'm remembering correctly.
Adam, yeah.
Yeah, and that's such an interesting story. I've never asked anyone this question, so I'm glad that you will get to be the first to speak on this firsthand. Well, because I'm it's just rare that I have actors has a child, first of all, because acting is its own thing. You're spending so much time auditioning and going to studios and stuff like that. But on top of that, I don't really hear too much about actors with LGBTQ kids. And I'm glad I have you here to speak on this, because it's so important, especially nowadays where we see like all these laws being put in place and all this weird garbage that's happening. Yeah, we're seeing all this weird nonsense happening, and this is a really important story that I feel could help a lot of people, specifically. So I'm glad you could give your insight on this. But what has it been like raising a child that is in the LGBTQ community, and what has that experience watching them grow helped teach you as a person?
Fortunately, a lot of the teaching began as after um, Adam, after Avery became Adam, and that was like senior year of high school officially by name. And then Adam graduated high school as Adam Jack Rice, a name that was not given by parents. So I mean, it was just like a struggle all the way around. But in retrospect, my ex-wife Karen, I'll reference her that way, she and I have talked about how it was even from the beginning. It's like a lot of clues were there. Some her family members, like her mother, was like, I knew it. But we were actually resistant. But if for Adam, it's just very self-directed journey. We support him fully now, but it was a struggle at the beginning, because we thought, what is this? I don't want to tell Adam's story. I don't want to talk out of turn, because that's his story to tell. But you did ask me as a parent. I still have to like differentiate that, because I have been scolded for over speaking by my kid. Yeah, it's still challenging. I mean, it's not like I quit being a parent, he's still in his 30s. I'm still very interested in his life. I just met his fiance this Christmas. So it's like, there's so much happening there that just feels like it's just like anybody would expect from their kid. You raise them, they go to school, they find a partner, they, settle down. It's kind of what's happening. So in that case, it's not any different. Pronouns are different for sure. I don't know. I've only done it once. It's really hard to reflect. I mean, it's like I can definitely answer some questions about it, but to speak extemporaneously, that's kind of a first right now. I got to be honest with you. I'm not sure which direction to go, and I will wander.
No, I completely understand how that can be, because I think a lot of the times, parents have, even before they have a child, they instill this idea of
Mhm.
what they have for the child and what they envision. If this is a girl, da, 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 this is a boy, da, 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 your mind is doing all this stuff, building this future. But then in the midst of that, you have to remember, this is a human being. They have just as much free will as you. They have just as much of a say as you. Their input is just as valid as yours. And I think a lot of the times there's a lot of things that goes into um, resisting it, or things like that, or being like, whoa. But I think parents spend so much time building this narrative for someone that's not even here yet, or what they've heard or what they envision, that when your child is like, hey, no, this is my path, this is my journey, it's like, well, what? No, I've spent my time building your story, your path. What are you talking about? That just that, what are you doing? You know what I mean?
I
And
did
it
it.
can.
I did it to my kid. My parents did it to me. I didn't intend to, but it happened. It comes out of nowhere at you, So it's like those cycles are, that between generations. So it's like that stuff's real. History does repeat itself. We do become like our parents, whether we want to or not. But I think that's also, it's like, what is the difference between you being like your parents, or just like society, and American society in particular, and what would just be the natural process that could be traced across cultures. I don't know where's the separation line. What's the difference? But I will say something. Since you asked, I think it would be a different thing now, especially in the state of Texas. Younger parents recognizing in their children at a younger age what we didn't. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like maybe we could, and also we went through the whole thing. It's like, is this nature? Is this nurture? Is this choice? Is this natural? And it's a struggle for a lot of people. Now, my ex-wife, her family, relatively accepting. My family, it's been a different story. I've definitely felt like it was in the middle of between my own family, my nuclear family, my child, and myself, as opposed to like my siblings and parents. It's been different, but where I am situated right now, this time, maybe it was facilitated by the pandemic, but like family coming back together, starting to happen, conversations happening, hard ideas softening. It's what you would it's what you would want. I don't know if the situation just tends to be self-cleaning if you leave it alone, because you can certainly get busy working on the problem when you think you're working toward a solution. So these are just tough answers, and not easy, and definitely not. I certainly haven't mentored another parent walking, on the same path, because it's different for everybody.
Right. That's it's definitely a tough question that I asked, because
Oh, and I'm
it's
so glad you did. I almost forgot that you were going to mention it, and it's only the second time that I really recall bringing it up or speaking, more openly about it. So appreciate it.
no, definitely. I really do want more knowledge to be out there. Also, when you think about the pandemic, we had so much time on our houses and so much time learning things and unlearning things. There's a lot of things that the pandemic has done. People's perspectives have changed. People's views are getting questioned and looked at in a certain way because now you have time to just like sit with yourself. I mean, we sat in the house for like what 4 months, maybe 4 or 5 months, maybe just alone with our thoughts, no one to go to, no places to go to, no one to hang out with, just us thinking, researching, learning, and just trying to be better people out of this. There's so many experiences and stories coming out of quarantine that are still coming out. I'm very interested to see how this is going to affect people socially. I see people talking about how it was a difficulty coming out of quarantine and going back to being, your regular chatty self after, basically our worlds changed. Our worlds did change going into quarantine. So yeah,
Well, I mean, it
there's a lot.
wasn't in a way that I've never experienced, nor my parents, in their memory at all, and they're in their 80s. So it's like, this is this is really a fluke. But it's, for me at least, it's facilitated some good things. I would not have left the vocations that I have left now, and actually, thankfully, like I've left a lot of live performance for the most part behind me, a lot of the teaching behind me. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. It was about that time. I'm kicking 60 in the butt, so I'm ready to get on the couch, get that remote.
Just relax and yeah, yeah.
And me, I'm an urban hermit. So like when the pandemic came, it wasn't that big a change for me. I was already an empty nester, and I was already used to not having people over or being around people. So that's kind of like my normal. It's like everybody else got to experience in a way my normal. And I have no idea what it was like to be in a house with other people where it doesn't work. I mean, I can see how it would be some people's nightmare, and I'm so grateful that wasn't my experience. No one in my family, everybody in my family took it very seriously, and I think I was even third to vaccinate. It's just like, no arguments. we took everything seriously, and I was really grateful for that. And I was proud of my you brought up my son. I was super proud. He was running out of a bay window in a pre-quake San Francisco hotel, fishbowl drag, via facilitated by Instagram and Venmo. It's like on the streets there, so like people could be just on the street in their masks, and the performer was behind, a window, and they took that places. I'm so proud. So it's like they turned something, that was, and for their community, LGBTQ. They're like the alphabet LGBTQ. It's but also the BIPOC community, that was there. So, and even got sued and then took that company to court, all about housing rights, and won. So it's like my son was large and in charge there in San Francisco for that pandemonium minute. I'm super proud. So I had to mention something good, alongside chaos. We've had some good stuff shine upon us.
Absolutely, man. And you've done so much good and so much that's helped a lot of people around the world. I know you've done cons and stuff. I know people have probably told you stories of all the
Just a little bit, only mostly since the end of the pandemic. I've just done such a few of those, so it's like a new venture.
Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, I thought that was something like you regularly did, pulling up to
No.
something, some kind, or I don't know.
Most of the time, I performed every weekend, at least 3 shows a week. Sometimes, more than 2 dozen performances. So I was
Right.
busy, 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 and recording was something that happened just over on the side, and then it's just no one knew where it was going to go, and I'm so grateful, and to still be recording. I mean, like, I'm happy about that.
Absolutely. Um, but to transition into this fantastic anime journey, man, you've done over like 300 plus characters.
You say
Um,
that, I was like, and still growing. It's amazing.
s- Still growing and still doing more amazing projects. What do you love about the world of anime?
The variety. I think I'm not a lead actor even on stage. I've always been a character actor, so it suits me perfectly. Like this just whole array that I see in this little frame you've got right there. I mean, there's a lot of variation in those people. you know and we got, and that's happened pretty much on just the first show. The difference from DrGero to Tao to Supreme Kai to Elder Kai to Kabito Kai, and that was the order of succession in those characters that I got. And a few little others along the way. I see Janemba, but there's Metamacha from the Lord Slug movie, and like there's some random. There's even like a little tiny turbo baby, a little android baby I did in a falsetto voice. So it's been an amazing gym for those of us who also do stage or do a lot of on-camera cold readings, because recording anime is a lot about cold read. You're going in, you're seeing those lines for the first time, and they're going by this fast, See it in the Japanese, do it in the English. Go next, 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 next. Out of the booth, next actor in.
Yeah, I know for dubbing and stuff, you guys usually are working by your guys' self, and it's just you and the director and the engineers and stuff like that. Which I
That
get.
is the bummer thing about it, that you don't get to interact and you don't get to really play off of each other.
It's interesting because in Japan it's completely different. Like they'll go in and record with themselves and in those studios, but it makes sense here because dubbing is like I don't know. I feel like there's a way they can make it work if they really wanted to. I feel like there
It's
is.
also, I mean, like you mentioned, two different things. These are two completely different cultures. One where it was, where it's developed, and one now where it's now been assumed and just continues to gain in popularity. Yeah, I remember at the very beginning, somebody said, I think it might have been, I'm not going to say who it was, but they referenced anime as being the pet rock of the 70s, something that was just going to come. It was going to be really exciting, and people were going to love it, and then it was just going to go away, fade away into history. Something that happened in that decade. But no, anime conventions, I'm noticing like young parents, like my kids' age, with elementary school age children, all they're at the con, and it's the kids that brought the parents. they're the fans now. So it's like, this isn't going to do anything but just keep going.
We're seeing stuff like movies being released in theaters with Jujutsu
Mhm.
Kaisen and Dragon Ball Super Broly released.
It's
I
still
know in
happening.
theaters.
It is still
Yeah,
evolving. It's still coming. We hadn't
it's
we hadn't found the ceiling yet, I don't think. I don't think
and
we have found
honestly,
saturation yet.
I don't think you guys will. I mean, there's of course more manga coming out. There's a lot of new properties on the horizon. It's a huge market in
And a
Japan.
lot more competition now for my actors. And once Funimation started dipping into the Houston actor pool, and here comes John Swayze in my way. Come on.
But now I want to talk about one of my favorite animes of all time that you did. Fullmetal Alchemist is one of my favorite animes, and of course, you played the father in Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. Very cool villain character. I love the way he looked too. Very cool. Um, what do you remember about doing Fullmetal Alchemist?
Now, you said Fullmetal Alchemist. Now, in that particular season, I played a character called Majahal. It was an
Yes.
episodic villain, but then in Brotherhood was when I got to do Father. Um, so it was a completely different experience. One, I just got to come in for an episode, you know, in and out one day. Father, just took me through because Father was also the narrator, and it was kind of like that whole George Santome from Yu Hakusho experience again. Like, it turns out the narrator is actually the Blue Ogre, on the end of it. Spoiler alert. I hope everybody realized that by now.
The show came out like in the 80s. Y'all be fine. Y'all be fine. But yeah,
So those were two completely different experiences. And then my
right.
son played Fletcher on Full Metal Alchemist, or a little character named Fletcher. Do you know what I'm talking about? That was my
Yo,
son.
that is so cool. That is so
Mm-hmm.
cool. The,
Yeah, he wasn't just a one-off. He just literally decided not to go in and audition anymore for Brina Palencia and Mike McFarland.
wow.
Like, who would say that? But I mean, it's like, all right, your trajectory. you know,
You know what you want to do?
other
Yeah.
people would not walk away. Other people would not walk away.
Right. This
That's
this
all
this
right.
this sort of something addicting to it, auditioning and getting into the bodies of different types of characters. It's pretty
Yeah,
cool. It's really interesting. I love
and
doing that.
it's normal for me. you know, And my kid grew up in a house where, like, yeah, it's normal to have your clothes hanging, but then there's also 3 dozen kimonos, and some katana over in the corner. And look at all this theatrical makeup. And oh, those are string puppets hanging from the ceiling everywhere. It's just like, that's how it was. It's like it's almost like living backstage.
Definitely get that. I loved when I used to perform when I was little because I used to tap dance and perform on
Did
musicals and
you
stuff.
really?
Yeah, I
You
used
a
to.
hooper? Oh, see, that's something that watching musicals, old black and white musicals, Gene Kelly, Sid Charisse. You too. That's what, and remember feeling trapped in the country because I wanted to do what they were doing. But once I had one tap class, I knew that was just, that dream was
Yeah,
done. It's like, you got to have the ankles for that. You got to be
yeah.
strong to tap, and just like you got to be strong to water ski, and that's something else. Was harder to do. It's like it. Those people who can do it, you don't really have the right appreciation for how they're able to make their feet do that. It's shocking.
It.
Did you have
I've
real taps? Did you have those jingle taps?
I wish I could have. I think I had real ones. I had real ones. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. Yeah. I did. I remember just being so addicted to like musicals and stuff like that. If I
That's
when I
amazing.
yeah I performed. I think I did Grease once. I think I did Grease for my school in New York. My mom still has the video. I'm probably gonna post it for my birthday next week. But
I've directed
just
that
look.
show twice.
And oh yes, and I just something about performing is just always gonna do it for me. Always when someone is like, "Hey Josh, can you do this character for me in my fan film or this stop motion?" I'm there. Hell yeah! Like I just love performing. I love it, man. So good. But what?
Performing as a pastime or a life choice.
Right. What did you find the most interesting about playing the father in Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood?
Getting to. I didn't think I'd be eligible. It's like I played a villain in, Fullmetal Alchemist. I didn't even think I was eligible. And an audition didn't come to me. I got sometimes it happens, you get a text and it's like, oh, you're being booked for this show. So I got booked for the show. I didn't know the character and I knew it was for Mike McFarlane. And I went in and it was essentially what's called a paid audition, where it's like they're going to go ahead and record you in the episode as that character. And if it doesn't work, they can say it was just an audition. But that's that's just how it happened. I just showed up.
That
I
is so
reported for duty, and then I ended up having that fabulous character. Which, and I invoked the name of John Swayze, which I love that he plays the altar, that he's Hohenheim. I love that.
As an actor, what makes a really good villain for you to like step into and play? What really makes a good villain, in your opinion, at least?
I approach the villains like I approach any other character. They believe in themselves. They believe in their destiny. They're not just like dripping with evil and loving it so much. It's like they have their intent. And it's like you think it's evil. Here's my drive. So that's how you approach it. I particularly love the characters. Sonny Strait cast me as a couple of villains that I loved in the Lupin the Third show, and they started out as like such good guys, like soccer dad, really jovial, sanguine people, and it turns out that they're the villain by the end of the show. And I love those. I love those to have that kind of a character twist. You get to play those alters. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that about villains too, is when they're so certain in their motives, and sometimes even when you're like, hold on now, I kind of see where he's coming from. I mean, of course, you don't agree with the method, but you're like, okay, hold on, you kind of speaking to me right now. Or some of the greatest villains ever made is when you understand them,
Well,
or just
Father's
straight up.
so good that way. DrGero, he was so in and so out for me as a character, and he was always that one note. And I thought the whole thing was over for me once he got his head stepped on. And I thought, well, thanks for letting me come in. But I didn't know that it was where it was going to keep going. So,
Dragon, your legacy with the franchise, of course, we're going to get into, is just like,
it's still blowing my mind to hear you like even say that, like legacy and stuff. But wow. I tell you what, Netflix and Crunchyroll did so much for us voice actors, during the pandemic. So many people who may not have otherwise watched programming were watching some stuff. So it's like, and now that there's like more, feed me more content now. Great.
Especially with all the streaming services like HBO Max and Disney Plus and Hulu and Peacock and Paramount Plus. There's like so much stuff that's obviously still in the works that we're gonna get. Like they need people to come and support and give them that
Well, that was
$10.
we talked about the pandemic. Live. I was literally performing on stage, and I was tugged by the shoulder after a curtain call and handed a check and said the county has now closed down due to COVID. Thank you so much. And then I didn't perform again for another 2 years. So and then teaching. Suddenly, you're not allowed to go into school. So everything that about 85% of my income gone. Because of course, no conventions were really happening. People were, there was a lot of anxiety about, how to do that right. Just what, 2 weeks deep into the pandemic, and suddenly, here now Crunchyroll, formerly Funimation, providing those actor kits. So thank goodness that work was right there, because if it wasn't going to be for government bucks, thank goodness for anime, for those of us actors. So we're really grateful that North Texas has Crunchyroll. We will take it.
It's getting bigger, like you said. It's only going to get bigger. And speaking of big, a big franchise that you've been a part of is My Hero Academia as Mr. Compress.
Yes,
Just
love him.
Describe Mr. Compress and what do you like about how he fits into that universe?
You know, I just mentioned the way I had auditioned for Father. Same thing with Colleen Clinkenbeard and Mr. Compress. Just one of those little paid audition moments. So, but Matt McFarlane, sweetheart. Colleen Clinkenbeard, totally intimidating to me. It's like, if there's anybody I want to get it right for, a nail biter. I mean, like being in the booth, sweating it hard, like figuring out what to do for that guy that doesn't, I can't even see his face. Okay, it's like, all right, no mouth flaps, bonus. Don't have to worry about matching his mouth flaps. But coming up with that theatrical, pompous voice, and he's a character, I've never done a voice like him before. So I couldn't believe I found something unique in my, little bag of tricks. So I was really happy about him, and I'm super happy that I got him because I got to tell you, to have a character on that show, that's what every Funimation actor wants. When do I get to have? I'll be a hero. I'll be a villain. I'll be anything to be on that show.
It's massive. There's so many characters there too, and of course with the manga, there's still characters that haven't been introduced yet. So huge opportunity for actors to get their hands on whichever villain, a hero, or whatever. But what did you like the most about how he like worked into the universe, like how he fit?
I mean, like to me, I learned about. I mean, I just like came in on him sideways, into that audition. I didn't really know what was happening. I just knew that was the show you wanted to be cast on, and you just wanted somebody who didn't die so fast. So when that arm went, ooh, I was scared. I thought I was about to have another Dr.Gero moment. He's here and then he's gone. What did you actually ask me?
Well, how he fits into the universe and the story. Like, how do you like about what
I
he
don't even.
does?
I feel like he's in like the whole league right there. It's such a bizarre assortment of characters and backstories. It's like it's almost noisy. I have to focus on his. I love his the whole theatrical thing. It's like that sounds perfect for like some pompous theater actor that I never got to really be. Someone who's just so full of himself. I love that about him, and I love that there's more that's to be revealed in a way. Little research. I don't know. Sometimes it's just what you hear from fans, just doing a little reveal table side at a convention, and then it's sometimes doing some online research. But like, I like his stuff. I like his story. I like where he comes from and where he's going.
You
Stay hungry.
mentioned something very interesting about the topic of mouth flaps and how for that character you didn't particularly have to worry about that. So I was wondering for people who might not know about the process of dubbing, how difficult is it to match mouth flaps and what the character is speaking?
You can ask somebody who hasn't been able to get themselves cast, and there's plenty of folks that do that. There's some seasoned Dallas stage and broadcast actors who can't get cast because that trick of matching flaps. And it's not only just an oral thing; it's also a visual thing because you're looking back and forth between two different screens. You're going from script to screen. It used to be paper script on a music stand, with a reel to reel. It wasn't QuickTime or anything like that. It wasn't no Pro Tools yet. It was like starting back with the electric typewriter. It was very, very old fashioned. The way it all started out. It's super facilitated now. I already don't remember what you asked me.
You're fine. No, I was just saying, like, how difficult is it to match mouth flaps?
It's really hard. It's still challenging now. And, as an actor, you want to be able to just like ace it. You want to get it right on the first time and then advance to the next line. So it always feels good. If you're having to do it for a third time, that's too long. And some of them, a line might just be an utterance, but it just how to land that right. What's the right amount of vocal effort, voice versus breath. If it's a line, how long a line? How many pauses are in it, and how is it written? You're used to seeing dot 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 ellipses, but we in anime we have dot dot ellipses, and that's like a little hitch breath. So there's almost like coding that you've got to learn. In OM, open mouth, or on camera, off camera. There's so many different variables as well. But so it's practice. It's definitely practice. I'm like, I need to turn this phone off.
Oh no, you're fine. But that character didn't do mouth flaps stuff for you to match, but another
Not the whole time. We have seen his face. We
we
have
have
seen his
seen.
face.
Yes, I was about to say we've definitely seen him without that cool little what's it look like? It kind of looks
He's
like
got
a
different look. There are different masks. That one has a cyclopean kind of look to it. So
yeah, it's so
right there has
cool.
the double eyes and that wicked grin.
But now I want to get into, of course, the Yu Hakusho. And what's interesting about this was that this is your second anime you've ever done. Was this one, and you scored a huge with performing as the narrator of that entire series. What do you remember about being brought on for Yu Hakusho? And did you like audition for it? Were they like, "Hey, you're doing Dragon Ball, come here, we want you," or how'd that go?
It was so different back there in the early days when there were so few actors. Like it's you can have multiple roles on the same show now, but it's not as usual. Like we all took multiple roles on the Dragon Ball franchise, and then we were kind of backing off from that a little bit in Yu Yu Hakusho. Like not one actor was playing so many different characters. Does that make sense? Um, but it just turned out for me that the Blue Ogre named George Santome was also the narrator, but we didn't even know right away. I don't remember auditioning for him. I know, like for just like with Supreme Kai and Kabito Kai and Elder Kai, I just happened to be in the booth and I happened to be asked, "Hey, do you think you have a voice for this?" So that's kind of, I think, of what it was like. That's how I then all ended up getting Chew, the Australian fighter. Justin Cook said, "Can you do an Aussie accent by any chance? Let's see what that sounds like," And voila, there it was. So that was, yeah, life after Dragon Ball. First and foremost, it's like there are more projects out there, but still, again, it was a lot of yelling, a lot of fighting at times. It wasn't until the third show, Fruits Basket, that we learned it. Anime can be so completely different. But Yu was great. Now it's funny that's like, Dragon Ball kind of reinvented itself with Super and Kai and Super and everything like that. And then Crunchyroll went back when we redubbed, Fruits Basket, and then it continued. But we skipped Yu. So it's like, what's gonna happen? Because I know people ask all the time, when? Like we know. We actors know. Nothing. Like, when are they gonna redub that? And it's like, we're ready. But just like with everything, you don't, even if they did, let's say that they did that, you don't know that you're going to get to play that character again.
Yep.
I did not know that I was going to get to play Hattori Soma again in Fruits Basket. I did not know that I was going to get to continue as Elder Kai and Supreme Kai or DrGero, when they came back with Super and with Dragon Ball Kai and Super. You didn't know. Same thing's true with games, it's like, because some people, there have been those who have been recast, which is why I say that.
Definitely, you also see that all the time with, of course, like animation roles and stuff like that. When you specifically, they get recast all the time. Which, I mean, for me, for a while there, that kind of pissed me off, to be honest. Like, it made me really mad, especially when you grow up with these people's voices.
You mad?
and it's just like, dang, they're really gonna like change this and flip it around and stuff like that, and not even bring on the original cast. But I kind of get it too, because it's a recast and they want to do something new with it and do a new thing.
Well, yeah, but also, in a new industry that was developing with these young people, they're also learning, what they can do in their powers. It's like, I could do this if I want to, or if I feel so inclined. Would they make some of those same decisions now? I don't think some of those same decisions would be made. I just don't. And I don't see any, I mean, I don't see a big reason why for some of the recasting. That's just my feeling, but I know all the players, I know all the people, but I'm outside, fortunately, from the politics of it. I try to maintain my distance. There's an invisible wall here, a Mr. Mime wall.
but I had to save them. I completely get that. You just want to do the work, do your best, and make a character that will influence the lives of others. And speaking of influencing the lives of so many, wanted to save the best show for last, Dragon Ball Z. I am a huge Dragon Ball Z fan, and I will be a
You said
Dragon
you
Ball
grew up
Z.
on it, so yeah.
Yeah, I will be a Dragon Ball Z fan until the day I die. I mean that wholeheartedly. I will show that to my kids if I have any. You know what's funny is I remember the first time I watched Dragon Ball Z was with my mom because we were watching because Dragon Ball Z Kai had aired on Nickelodeon, I remember. And they were showing it and my mom was like, we have to watch this now, we have to watch this now. I was like,
And that's what you grew up on was Kai?
yes, Dragon Ball Z Kai. I remember that was the first time, and then my mom bought these big. I don't know if you've seen them in the stores, but they're like these big. They almost look like textbooks, a bit like mini textbooks of the Dragon Ball Z episodes. And she brought them. I was like, "Oh, is this kind?" She was like, "No, this is the original version," and had like all the filler episodes and stuff like that, and the original actors. And I watched it there, and
And
I
the
was just like,
episodes are a lot longer and less happens.
a
We noticed
lot.
that when we started to record, Kai was like, "Oh man, this is amazing! It's at a real length. It's not like it's soap opera length."
Did you get to record with the other voice actors for that series?
No,
Oh,
there's
dang.
only been I've only had one experience, and there's only been one time I believe where people recorded together, and that's on the first live action dub, which was a dub. I think it was a Thai zombie movie. Um, and we all got in a room and did what in theater, well, in musicals where you have a table read where everybody's reading their character and you just go through the entire show right there at the table together and play off of each other. So we did that. And then we went back in and started recording. Never happened again.
Okay, see, no, I
One at a
thought
time, one
I
actor at a time.
right. No, I asked that because I know that usually, obviously with anime you guys don't record together, but I thought it was different for Kai because I thought like
Not for
the
me.
way yeah, because I thought because of the way it looked and they were trying to redo it, I thought they were like, "Hey, so we're gonna hand animate this now, and all of you guys can come in studio now." But I guess that wasn't the case.
See, that's a testament to the production there and the director for being able to hear all of those different voices at completely different times over a span of a week or more and make it sound like it just happened. Like there's art there.
Absolutely, 100%. We speak about throughout this and we were talking about how big anime is, especially here in the States, but like honestly, the Dragon Ball Z really kicked that off if you think about it. Like so many people's first anime, you ask someone, you'd be like, "Hey, what was your first anime?" Dragon Ball Z, Dragon
That
Ball Z,
started.
Dragon Ball Z. Yeah, that's
But also,
that's how
like,
people
it was in Latin America before it was here. Like when we started with Funimation, even though the dubbing business had come down from Canada, the materials were coming from Mexico, not from Japan. So it's like it started different. It's like, wait a minute, this aired. We're recording something that aired years ago in Mexico and then even longer in Japan. Why? You know, you don't ask that anymore. That's so
def
funny. And you mentioned, in Latin America, I went to the only time I've been to the island of Puerto Rico. It's the only time I've been recognized for my voice. And it was even outside, continental US. Someone recognized it. It's like, you play DrGero. I'm like, why did you know that?
it's such an iconic voice too. I love all the characters you voiced first off, but your Dragon Ball Z characters are so cool and so different, and each of them I did not know they were you. I did not know you were Dr.Gero. I didn't know you were the Kais. I didn't know you were Janimba. I didn't know you were
And
Tal.
Janimber, that's on a filter, and that's just a lot of people could have done that, because he's just like the sounds, that he's making and stuff like that. But
Yeah, if
like,
you
but like Supreme Kai and Elder Kai, I talk to myself. That's the only time I get to play off of another actor, is I get to record one character and then and then record the next one, listening to myself. My experience as a voice actor is that I'm one of the first to record. So usually people get to play off of me, but I don't usually hear the other actors. I just hear the Japanese and then I lay mine down. I don't get to hear what somebody else sounded like. I don't get to play off the Cliff Chapins all the time, you know. And it's such a treat when I do. So it's like, I think I have a lesser experience that way. Because you mentioned it's like being able to work with other actors at the same time and work off them. That's wonderful.
Definitely, and you get to bounce off of energies, and you can see what they did and try. Ugh, and that makes me wonder, like for people who do like animation and video game stuff in California, like how that has affected the industry, like with in regards to them recording with one another. Because I speak to
Let me
people.
tell you something. With anime, with dubbing, it was the least of gigs as an actor. Agents didn't care. Didn't care. It is the opposite now. Anime actors get so much more attention than even just like, movie actors or TV actors or something, or just as much. So they want to figure out, how do I get cast? On a Netflix, anime or something like that. How do I do that? And they can't all get in because it does take something. It's a different skill set. Let me just say that it's kind of like its own skill set, and I think it is increasingly appreciated as such. Those of us who were starting out, we recognized it as such. It was completely different from anything that we had done. If we had done radio or TV, or stage, it's its own animal, the dubbing. So I like the attention that it's given now and the props. And because this, like I just mentioned with the directing, there is so much to it. It is not a technical thing. It's not amateur. If you drive up to Crunchyroll right now, how we started in the studios, a whisper room in the corner of an open former office business, sharing the same floor as the bank and people filing for bankruptcy. So now the new palatial Crunchyroll, place it with almost like a wall that's just like a jumbotron of screens. It's fabulous. Finally feel like we have arrived.
I completely understand that, and yeah, it's like we were saying, there's so much of it now too, and it is there's so much required, and there's so many greats in there. You were talking about Justin Cook. It's funny, I'm going to be meeting Justin Cook next week at MomoCon. So yeah, but yeah, there's just so much that goes into it that needs to be respected. Voice acting as a whole needs to be respected. That's why I mainly speak to voice actors, is because I just hate this notion that people are like, oh, anyone can do it. You really can't. Like, not anyone could do it. First of all, you need to be an actor. I'm so sick of people thinking it's just like funny voices, funny, haha. No, you have to be.
When people get their voice demos done, they're not doing those on their demos if they're going to be taken seriously. You can't just do funny voices like you just said. That's a no-no. It's not what a lot of people think.
It's really not, and that's why I love doing these series and speaking to great voice actors like you who have done this and know what they're talking about, because I feel like there's just such a huge misconception of what voice acting really is. Voice acting is just as valid as on-camera acting. Maybe even you could argue more so because of the work that goes into it, what you have to do, things you have to, how you manipulate.
I feel more prepped going into any other kind of on-camera or voice work because I've done dubbing. I'm dubbing strong.
See, like, there's just so much that goes into these techniques and getting it right and nailing it, and just
if you do something like that, and then you don't get a chance to memorize it. At least and with other scripts, you're having to memorize lines. There's no memorization in here. It's read and go, and deliver instantaneously.
Right, and there's just,
and you can't do it, and you won't be asked back. You start out on the walla. They start the actors out on the walla doing, with 4 actors might be in a room on one microphone and doing all those little chatter. And you really got to come up with stuff to say, and then you do the bits, and then you get more substantial characters. So it's just the process. Unless you're people like Micah Solisad, who just, all you got to do is move from Hawaii to continental United States and show up. So some people just have that little bit of something that, or, that luck in the door, but luck doesn't maintain you.
It
You
doesn't.
might be lucky on first run, but you got to be recast. People got to want to cast you, want to work with you. Anyway,
Absolutely.
blathering. Listen, a lot of time. Okay, so we've gone well over an hour now. I didn't intend to do that. I hope I haven't overstayed my welcome.
Oh no, no, no! I have a couple questions. I know you might have to
Sure, sure,
get.
sure. Ask away.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about, this is your first character you've ever played. My favorite character you play, Dr.Gero, Android 20. I love that character. I love his voice. I love the way he looks. You know what's funny? I was trying to buy an action figure to put on my wall here. Well, not wall, but like collection set. And I can't find anything. The only thing I can find is Mercenary Tau, and that's it. I can't find any
And
Dr. Gero action.
I have a Gero and I have a Supreme Kai that, from the very, 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 very beginning. I think my mother even still has the ones inside the package. I'm a moron like that. Like I'm take stuff out. Like I
Oh,
don't keep it in pristine packages. I'm gonna touch it.
yeah, but how do um what do you like about that character? And getting to step into that character for so many years. You've done him in the TV shows and the games, and like he's just been in so much stuff still.
I got to re-record him, for when we did
Yeah.
like, and I didn't know that was going to happen that way. So, fortunately, it wasn't, having to re-audition. But he's it's just interesting how it's just kind of all landed out. Taking the fact that I have a child that was involved in the process at the same time. I think just how getting to reprise a character after the whole art form, I guess you could say, became more uh, as the interest grew, in anime, in dubbing, in general, and people wanted more, 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 and competitions among recording houses, or actual animes, like Demon Slayer is like the show, you're supposed to want to be on now, it's just
Yeah.
like just keeps evolving, just keeps changing. But like for Dragon Ball Z, Dr. Gero, popularity has not waned. When I go to a con, it's the first 3 shows that we did that draw the most interest, other than my hero, other than Mr. Compress. He's definitely another feather in that cap. Compress has that one feather. But like, having those DBZ credits, I mean, even for the people who have been recast, fans love them just as much. They get embraced for the work that they presented, regardless of that
Absolutely.
after hardship of like, why was I recast? Why?
Dr. Gero is this really cool character that I've always loved just because of like your voice. It's how would you describe that voice? Kind of like rough.
Well, for me, it was pretty rough and aggressive, and it was kind of, in a way, it was almost like brawler, kind of piratey in a way. But it's like that's what we were trying to do, and keeping the mouth wide, with all that beard and stuff, and um,
He's got a
and
big
being
mustache.
perpetually evil, and all those. I mean, that was like, oh, I can't being sent home because you can no longer, because your voice is gone, because you've destroyed it by doing the efforts involved in all of those fights. And the Sean Schemmel I worked with as a marionettist, as a puppeteer, before he got um, uh, Goku. And he was at one time, when I was working with him, he was parking cars in Denton, Texas, and he was teaching private French horn lessons in another little mid-city town near Dallas. And he was performing marionette shows with me, and he landed Goku. I'm like, what are you even talking about? And then I ended up getting an audition, and you just take off. So it's so funny, how it's all still so relevant. Sean
Why
still
do you
makes
think Dragon? Why do
off of Goku.
Why do you think Dragon Ball Z has lasted for so long? I mean, of course, we still have Super, we have the games, but why do you think what has helped add to the longevity of this series, in your opinion? As someone who
Is
is
it?
still working there.
I've wondered. Is it the fact that Goku, that character, he's the Monkey King. He's that was already part of Asian folklore, but he's also, in a way, he's kind of every man. There's a lot of characters. Anansi, West African folktales. The guy. He can do good. He can do bad. He can be seemingly so brilliant and yet such an idiot. Um, it's like, so he's kind of an everyman in that sense. But I feel like what they've learned is how they can. It's like, thank goodness whoever decided on Dragon Balls did, because they can reinvent anything with all the Dragon Balls back in place. That show can reinvent itself. It can bring characters back. It can just bring a whole new set in.
It's those Dragon Balls are really OP. Really OP. Always wanted those.
It's like that's kind of in a way the magic of that show. But I can't help but feel like people weren't like, because like yourself, it's like there are former fans that are now recording, but the same is true of like there are former fans who are now animating. You started as a fan, and now you're working on those franchises, and or on the video games, or just in a different place within that same industry, just expanded. A lot of horizons got expanded with this dubbing thing. Chris Sabat's life definitely changed. You're going to meet Justin Cook. I'm sure his life completely changed. All those guys were in bands. They were all in bands at first. I was in my 30s, when I showed up already. So I showed up as an older person. They were all kids to me. They're still talking. The term exam is still in their vocab. And it's not like they had this job and then they got another job and another job. It's like they stayed right with it. It was right there for them, like as if it happened naturally for everybody that way. Right place at the right time, and then the right talent in the right place at the right time too.
Immensely talented people.
Maintained,
You've played the Kai's, Elder Kai, Supreme Kai, and Kibito Kai. What do you like about those three's interaction, besides you just talking to yourself in a room?
First with Supreme Kai, I thought when he came in, he was going to be just so little and so mild mannered, but that he would just like destroy everyone. No. He ended up being like such like a part of the comedy and such a Casper Milquetoast and like, oh man. But paired with Elder, it's like they play off each other really nicely. Now with like the fusion with Kibito Kai, it could have been me and Chuck Huber doing the voice together, but it wasn't. I don't know why Chris Sabat, I guess, just decided to go with my voice for just like kind of a little husked up version of Supreme Kai, just kind of maybe a little. Actually, when I auditioned for Supreme Kai, they asked me to do a surfer, so I felt like that was the compromise. I kind of added that little, kind of edgy element to his voice. I haven't done anybody else like him since, but
you're incredible, man. Oh my god, that is so cool.
You're so nice. You're so nice.
That is so cool.
Shot in the arm. That is a shot in the arm.
Now I want to talk about Fusion Reborn with Janemba. Now, like you said, he doesn't really talk much. He's just kind of like,
That's how it was presented to me, and it was Eric Vale who cast me and directed me in that, and that was a lot of fun. Anytime I can get to work with Eric Vale, it was great. Well, it's still right now, like voice actors, it's like, well, what do I do if there's only voice acting? Oh, I can also direct. Or some of those actors who started out, now they're writing, or now they're doing all three. Leah Clark. It's like there's some people who can they're multi-talented. I tried directing. I was terrible at it. For anime, I can direct on stage. I'm really good directing a musical. Wendy Powell, one of my dearest and closest friends, I direct for her a lot.
Wow. Janemba isn't a canon character, which means that this character...
Janemba, sorry.
Oh, no, you're right. No, I love
that way.
We're gonna love it. No, it's okay. No. I directing and teaching is a really cool thing that you do, and like you said, it can help people look in acting in a different direction. Because I've spoken to a couple actor directors. It can help you look at it and in a different way, or help enhance your perspective. Because you're like, oh, this is what you actually mean when a certain director says a word or something like that. You know what I mean? So it can definitely help. Something I'm interested in is definitely directing. My form of directing is different from what like Eric Vale, or you probably do. I'm more like camera and stuff like that. But
I'm used to working with, when I teach and direct, it's usually something at the same time. It's educational theater in some way. Um, it's going to be youth performing for families or public adults, but the shows are awesome. And because I like it, I like things to look really slick. But I approach everything I'm looking at the cast as like a bunch of ingredients, and what can I get from you? And what can I get you to learn about yourself so that it just comes out and I don't have to reach in for it. You're just presenting it because you see it and you get it. But that's not really talent. Um, that's kind of like learning how to make some smart choices for this particular, job. I mean, talent is that something you can't teach, that you have it or you don't have it.
yeah,
That is
definitely.
definitely true. Having to work with scores of children all over the place and young adults, you cannot teach it. It has to be there. And if it's there, you can't always draw it out. It's got to come from within. It's got to come from that person. It's got to be, what is that? Organic, natural. Janemba, that was, you brought him up, but he's a character that I probably think about the least because he was one of the least challenging, because knowing that I was going to be, on a filter and stuff like that the voice was going to be altered somewhat. It wasn't my raw voice. It's different.
Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna say Geneva was your most challenging because you have to do all those efforts, like and
That is
stuff.
challenging in and of itself, but I think, once you've gone through a story arc and you've survived to other roles and can and suffer that damage and repair and still produce, that's hard for that challenge. But I don't look at him as that challenge for that, because he's similar to so many other characters in that way, that all that fighting, Tao, different voice, different scenario, but still it's a lot of
He's
those same
really
efforts,
can.
and you're doing mechanically, physically, you're doing the same thing. And how to learn how to do it better so that it doesn't hurt as much. I shudder for like Chris Sabat having to do Vegeta and Piccolo, and no, thank you.
Those are
It's
two of the most action-heavy characters in the series too. Like he
Mhm.
has to go.
Directing all the rest of us trying to maintain that. It's like that was a lot for a young guy. Like, he survived his youth for sure. And his career. He deserves the career he has now for having having invented it, with the rest of us. He's the kind of the progenitor.
Absolutely, absolutely. If so, Janemba isn't a canon character, which means he's not like officially part of the main storyline of this series. It was kind of like a one-off. If they were to ever make Janemba a part of like the main canon storyline, would you like to see them do something different with the character, or how would
That
you
means
like?
one where I have to think like that. I'd probably be looking at my first recast right there. I just have a feeling, because it would be in business wise, it would be such an opportunity to choose, an actor who, maybe didn't have the resume, or didn't have the track record, but maybe had more of a mainstream name, and more of a no name. They might put somebody in that because of how they're going to treat that particular recording. How they could doctor. It's like, we could fix it. Whatever that actor delivered, we can fix it. Kind of thing. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't think they'd recast him. He's done for all the video games and the movie, and what else has he been in? He's not in a lot, actually. When I think about it, he's not really in a lot of stuff.
Mm-mm.
But speaking of stuff, there's a new Dragon Ball Z movie coming on the horizon. It is Dragon Ball Superhero. Of course, it deals with the Red Ribbon Army. Can we expect to see Dr.Gero return?
I'm sorry, I didn't even hear the question. No, I'm kidding. I really heard
Oh,
it. I can't, now you're in territory where I'm not allowed to speak. There are NDAs involved, so it's like, even if you're not part of it, you're not, it's too hard to talk about. It is exciting. I mean, like, I want to reprise everything I possibly can, but it just doesn't always work that way. Yeah.
I love to hear you come back as Tao. Do
That's
that horn.
how. That's very
Yeah.
nice voice. And it's funny, I just met my Canadian counterpart for DrGero a couple of weekends ago at KamehaCon. And his voice for DrGero is my voice for Tao. it turns out, because he was like, "This is my, DrGero," and I said, "That's my mercenary Tao." It's hilarious. We had so much fun.
That's so cool. That is so cool.
Well, I would love to do him again. He was hard, but I loved recording that art because it was just, there was so much fun that he had. He was so evil and mean, and then he turned out to be such comic relief.
He literally has the words "I'll kill you" on his back.
Kill you. I'm afraid it's time for you to die. Yeah.
So sophisticated and very erudite voice, very royal.
Yes.
Like, I
Great
love
word.
that.
Absolutely. And that's what we were going for. Well, and he has that sneer. I care not for you. I'm a careless god.
Well, now I want to head into the fun part of my interviews called Weird and Wacky. This is where you have 1 minute to answer a series of weird and random questions. No one has gotten to the record of 15 questions on stream, although the current championship title holder is Simon Norfleet with a record of 14 questions answered. Do you think you could beat him?
I have no idea. I have
We're about to
no clue. I'm going to say yes.
All right, 15. Let's go. Let's go. I'm about to start the timer in 3, 2, 1. Favorite dessert?
Ice cream.
Favorite color?
Green.
Your favorite TV show growing up?
Speed Racer.
Do you journal?
No.
Do you wish you were a superhero?
Yes.
Would you rather be bitten by a dog or stung by a bee?
B.
The worst smell you've ever smelled?
Foot.
A food that if you ever eat again, you will automatically throw up?
Licorice.
Are you lactose intolerant?
No.
How tall are you?
Almost 5'8".
Your least favorite color?
Brown.
An actor you wish you could get the chance to meet?
John Lithgow.
Do you watch Marvel movies?
Yes.
Favorite superhero?
Probably Spider-Man.
Favorite brand of shoes?
Couldn't hear.
Favorite brand of shoes?
I don't understand.
Favorite brand of shoes?
Brand
like shoes, like Nike.
Brand of shoes. I heard
yeah.
F-U-S-E, fuse. I'm like, what is he talking about? Explosives? No, what? Puma.
You won, man. Cat Williams has won, ladies and gentlemen. He is the championship holder of Weird and Wacky. Give it up for your championship title. This icon has won. He's done it. Ken, how are you feeling right now? How do you feel?
Victorious. I don't know what it means. I'm not feeling confetti or balloons or doves alighting or anything, but something is surely bound to happen. That was fun. That was a little nerve-wracking too.
I know, right? You have to think on your feet.
Wrong. Favorite color? Red. No.
But this is my last question for you, and I would just like to say it's been such an honor getting to speak to you and experience your personality firsthand. I'm a huge fan of your work, and I'm just a fan of you as a person and the journey you've been through and what you continue to do as you work in this industry. Your work surely is having an effect on so many lives around the world, and I'm just so honored that you gave me the opportunity to speak to you. But my final question to you is, what is your current message to the world during these current times that we live in? Obviously, we are still going through the global pandemic, but of course, we have the thing that's going on in Ukraine. We have laws being changed in the States. What would you say to people who are just feeling a little down?
Like, live and let live, for one. And I can say that as a parent, an LGBTQ parent, but also being LGBTQ myself. So that one's that's a tough call. That's a tough call. I feel like that's my beauty pageant question, and I'm ill prepared to answer it. World peace. Man, my message. I think you know what? I think it is live and let live. Tolerance across the board. As a starter, I happen to be a Libra. I'm the scales. I like balance. I seek balance. So balance, perhaps.
Definitely. And to go into that tolerance thing, I feel like a lot of things things are so charged nowadays. There's like so much people who are so steeped in their beliefs where they're like, well, here's this article, da, 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 da. And I feel like I experienced it. I'm not coming out here like, oh, you fools, be taught. No, I have my moments where I'm like, hey, yeah, I see this, but here's my thing, and you shut the f up. I'm talking. I definitely have those moments, but it's probably the Gemini in me, maybe, I don't know, but
I
but
know you live in another charged state. Now you're the South. Here in Texas, we consider ourselves Texans. We do not consider ourselves Southern. We do not consider ourselves Southwestern. We are Texans. But you in the South, it's like, we got it's a lot of hot button issues, in our two states. So it's like, I think it there's race is a factor, gender identity is a factor, human rights is a factor. We share here in Texas, we share a tremendous border with another country, so it's completely different than other states experience. And plus, we're just a big state on its own. We grow up learning about our state and knowing that we as a state have a right to secede, and we could become our own country and break into 5 separate states within Texas. So it's like, that's something we learn about Texas, and growing up. Like, Texas is a huge economy just on its own.
5 separate states? My God.
But, at least at one time, as an artist, receiving a lot of state funding, the Texas Commission on the Arts, we were below Guam. Do you know Guam? Guam, the island Guam?
Yes.
It's between Hawaii and Asia. Guam. Yep. Arts funding was lower than that of Guam in Texas. So it's like, for anything to be happening now, for actors to be moving here because there's work, I'll take it. That's great. Yes, more competition, but it's like, finally, we're a third coast. Not just that place.
When you think about when you think of all the entertainment things, you think what, like California, New York for Broadway, and then Atlanta is doing big things with the on-camera stuff, because you have Pinewood Studios who does all the Disney stuff. You have they do the Marvel movies, the Star Wars movies. There's a big kind of lucky here.
Media, CNN, media moguls,
CNN, I completely forgot. Cartoon Network is down here a little bit. Yeah, there's so much stuff down here and so much stuff to see and do. A lot of the big cons happen here. Like, it's huge. Georgia's huge, especially New York and stuff. And there's but seeing what you're talking about, how actors are moving to Texas. I wonder how it's going to.
One of my favorite franchises of Housewives, gotta say. Hey,
they do so much stuff that I didn't even know about. What's funny is I live 5 minutes away from Pinewood, so I could literally get in my car, drive. It's right there. Turn the corner. I'm trying to internship over there too for
Walking Dead. There's so much.
Yes, I live. How far do I live? There's this town where they shoot Walking Dead all the time. I live 20 minutes away from there. I'm so close to a lot of these entertainment things. It's kind of crazy.
Well, and once upon a time, there's a little town south of Dallas called Waxahachie, and it was like the same situation. It was the place where film would come and just go to that little town because they had what they needed on tap. And now thankfully there's just so much more. And then it seems like you guys are just going gangbusters too. So
yes, this is good. But yes, man, Kent, this was an amazing interview. Thank you so much for taking it.
It was a lot more of an interview than I thought it was going to be. That was a good 90 minutes. 90 minutes. That's a lot.
That's the longest interview I've ever done is 3 hours with legendary voiceover artist Corey Burton. I don't know if you know who Corey Burton is. Have you ever heard of him?
Names sound familiar, but I don't know how to put them with faces and stuff like that. Apart from voices, I go to faces.
I got you. Well, Corey Burton, he's the voice of Captain Hook since the 70s. So whenever you see Captain Hook, that's him. He's also the voice of Cad Bane for the Star Wars stuff. If you're big into Star Wars, he's that character. Count Dooku, legend. He's voiced like over 1,000 characters. Look him up on IMDb. Your finger will get tired. But yeah, that was that was 3 hours, man. I just love speaking to you guys. I really love speaking to voiceover talents because you guys are just so nice and just so willing. And I just love that about voice actors
You
in
keep it
general.
going though. I mean, you can tell you've done this. This is not your first rodeo.
It's not, and it's crazy how far I've come too. I just, as my birthday comes up, I just think about like how far I've come doing this, and just to be able to speak to someone who's made of my childhood like you is just like such a surreal thing because I never,
As a displaced Yankee in the South.
yes. But thank you, man. Is there anything you want to plug or promote before we head off?
I mean, just keep on watching. There's so much to plug. There's so much to plug. But I mean,
Especially,
like
yeah.
for every character you have represented here on screen, I'd say just like you go. I would say I still have yet to use my code to play Tiny Tina's. I have a code so I can go right to play where I can get to see and hear my character. But I love it. That was so much fun to put together. That is a pandemic. That was recorded over the pandemic. I got and recorded that during the
Oh
pandemic.
wow.
So it's like that was a treat. That was, I could say I came out with that little gem.
Can you do the voice real quick for Bone Three Wood if you remember it?
Bones Freewood right in here. I can't, you know, remember many of the shanties, but we had to do our own singing there.
One more thing. One more thing before you go. Can I get a shout out in the voice of Dr.Gero?
Absolutely. I will have to drain your energy. I
Oh
almost said it.
god.
I almost gave him a line from another character. Oops.
I know you're good. Thank you so much. I have for you, I have a lot of posters and stuff headed your way, appreciation posters for speaking
Ooh,
to me. So look out for that. I'm
okay.
so excited to be sending that to you. Hope to stay in touch with you, man, and you just have an amazing rest of your day. Thank you so much for joining me again.
Thank you. This was a treat. I appreciate it. Good work.
Absolutely. All right, guys. I'll see you on my next interview. You all have a great day and thank you for joining me. Peace out. All right.